Hello. Hello, hello. Okay, I will let you guys pop in and we are going to look for Boston Mayor. There we go. Hi, Dennis. How are you? Okay, we'll get started in just a second. We're just waiting for a few others to join. Hopefully, everyone's having a good Tuesday. Hi, Danielle. Yeah, let's try this again. I think it's going to be a lot better this time. It should be a whole lot better. We'll just let people pop in. All right, we have a few more. Hello, everybody. Hopefully, everyone's having a good Tuesday. It's not Taco Tuesday for me, it's Chili Tuesday. We're having chili. I'm so excited. I love chili. It's one of my favorites. All right. Should we go ahead and get started? Let's get started. All right. So last week, the Trump administration sent out one of my favorite. I love chili. Yeah, it's so good. Hello. I hope you're having a good day. Thank you, deranged lunatic, aka DL. Yes, I am having a good day. Hi, Richard. How are you? We're having a great day. All right, let's get into it. So last week, President Trump and his administration, they sent out a bunch of letters to sanctuary jurisdictions saying that if you guys don't get your crap together, if you don't end your sanctuary status, then we're not giving you federal funding. And all these cities are freaking out. But to me, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Because if you are a sanctuary city, that technically means that you are not complying with federal immigration law. So why would you get federal funding if you're not complying with federal law? Anyway, let's look at we're going to go to the Boston mayor. This is Michelle Wu.
We're here again today because last week.
So this is Michelle Wu. She is the mayor of Boston, Massachusetts. By the way, Massachusetts, they have given their migrant families, their illegal immigrants, $30,000 for 2 years worth of living expenses like housing assistance. $500 a month, 4,000, like they've gotten ridiculous amounts of benefits, taxpayer funded benefits that regular taxpayers don't get. So anyway, this is Mayor Michelle Wu of Boston, Massachusetts. Here we go.
We're here again today because last week Boston received a letter from the Attorney General of the United States on official letterhead from the federal government threatening to prosecute city officials and withhold federal funds unless we cooperate with carrying out mass deportations. At a time when this federal administration is already causing so much fear and harm in our communities, these threats are serious and consequential. But our same communities have told me loud and clear that silence in the face of oppression is not an option. The U.S. Attorney General asked for a response by today. So here it is.
You're so tough. She is so tough. Look how tough that face is. So tough. So brave.
Here is our response. Stop attacking our cities to hide your administration's failures.
Wait, let's break that down for a minute. So she's saying stop attacking our cities to hide your administration's failures? What exactly does that mean? Can she break that down for me and tell me what that means? Because I'm pretty sure the reason that ICE is going after sanctuary cities like Boston is because they're harboring a lot of illegal immigrants. And this is the problem that the Biden administration created by letting over 12 million illegal immigrants into our country in the past 4 years, which is an unprecedented number. So she's completely backwards in her logic. Completely backwards.
Unlike the Trump administration, Boston follows the law. And Boston will not back down.
So what law are they following? Because they're not following federal law. They're aiding and abetting people that are in the country illegally. So they're actually not following law at all. Have you seen the arrest count in DC? Oh, yeah. Here, let's finish this and then we'll look at the arrest count in DC.
From who we are and what we stand for.
All right. So that was pretty much over. All right. Let's look at the arrest count in DC over the weekend.
Safe again are working. President Trump's efforts to make DC safe again are working. There have been a total of 465 arrests since the start of this operation on Thursday, August 7th. Last night, there were a total of 52 arrests, including the arrest of an illegal alien MS-13 gang member with convictions for DWI and drug possession. Thanks to President Trump's leadership and the outstanding work of both federal and local law enforcement, dangerous gang members like the one picked up last night will not be allowed on the streets of our nation's capital. Other arrests last night included assault with a deadly weapon for stabbing, parole violation for robbery, murder, outstanding warrant for attempted murder, assault on federal law enforcement officer, and felony assault. 4 more homeless encampments were also removed during yesterday's reporting period. To date, a total of 48 homeless encampments have been cleared in Washington, D.C. by multi-agency teams. MPD patrol units are actively working with city officials to locate and clear additional encampments and remove homeless residents off of Washington's streets. And despite fake narratives from the media, again, a significant number of the arrests have been in high crime areas of D.C. In fact, nearly half of all of the non-illegal alien-related arrests have occurred in wards 7 and 8, the 2 wards that have the highest number of violent crime, as well as homicides and assaults with dangerous weapons last year. So while Democrats continue to coddle violent criminals, President Trump and this administration are focused on putting them behind bars and unapologetically standing up for the safety of law-abiding American citizens. And the White House will continue to provide all of you with the results of this.
Yeah. So that's the side of the story they're not going to tell you about.
Agents were surged across the city. Last night, approximately 850 officers and agents were surged across the city. They made a total of 23 arrests, including multiple other contacts. Last night, these arrests consisted of homicide, firearms offenses, possession with intent to distribute narcotics, fare evasion, lewd acts, stalking, possession of a high-capacity magazine, fleeing to elude in a vehicle, no permits, driving under the influence, reckless driving, and a bench warrant. A total of 6 illegal handguns were seized off of District of Columbia streets as part of last night's effort. This is only the beginning. Over the course of the next month, the Trump administration will relentlessly pursue and arrest every violent criminal in the district who breaks the law, undermines public safety, and endangers law-abiding Americans.
Wow.
Last night, approximately 800
The surge in Washington, D.C. We're at everyone is Judge Janine filling you in on what's going on in the surge in Washington, D.C. We're at more than 400 arrests over the weekend, 127 this past weekend with our federal partners and this cooperative law enforcement effort. We seized 21 illegal guns. We've made arrests on warrants for homicide, sexual predators, drug trafficking, illegals. If you want to be in D.C. and you're a criminal, you're not welcome. Everyone is Judge Janine filling you in on what's going on in the surge.
I have firearms that are felonies.
The military appointments that they want, or the jobs in the Trump, the people who now no longer have to worry about competition to get into Harvard and Columbia and Yale, or to get the jobs they want, or the military appointments that they want, or the jobs in the Trump administration that they want. They don't have to worry about competition from Black and brown people, because Stephen Miller and Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth from Fox and all the other people who are unqualified for their jobs are deleting all the Blacks and the browns and making sure that they all get deported and locked up so that they don't have to compete and cannot compete with the people who, frankly, aren't qualified but have the right complexion for the connection when it comes to MAGA. The people.
I do think that the Joy Reids should be deported.
Attorneys to make sure we're defending Colorado. We are in conversations with our attorneys to make sure we're defending Colorado's elections. Look, mail ballots are secure. They cannot be hacked because they're a piece of paper. That is increasingly more important as Trump has made our elections less secure since taking office again. He's disbanded much of the federal government's work on countering foreign disinformation and is obviously taking cues about democracy from a dictator, Putin. And we're in conversations with our attorneys to make sure we're defending Colorado.
So Trump signed an executive order today to get rid of mail-in ballots. So now you have a lot of Democrats that are fighting to keep mail-in ballots. And I'll just tell you, I lived in California when they tried to do mail-in ballots there. I had like 3 of them sent to my house. They are not secure at all. They are absolutely not secure. So I don't know what their argument really is here. Yeah, I don't know what their argument is. They're not secure at all. I don't like mail-in ballots. I never have. I think we need to get rid of them. And that's my stance. What's your stance?
foreign policy accomplishments from the beginning of this entire process. However, one thing that has absolutely not changed is the media's negative and downright false coverage of President Trump and his foreign policy accomplishments. From the beginning of this entire process, much of the left-wing media has been actively rooting against the President of the United States in the pursuit of peace. Initially, the media ridiculously claimed that President Trump was somehow beholden to Russia for even agreeing to have a face-to-face discussion with President Putin inside of the United States. The media said President Trump was making a grave mistake by, quote, legitimizing Putin. They were aghast that President Trump would treat another world leader like a world leader. The media relentlessly attacked President Trump and claimed he suffered a, quote, major defeat for not immediately emerging with a final agreement, even though he said heading into that meeting, this was a meeting to listen and to understand how to move the ball forward. All weekend following those historic U.S.-Russia bilateral talks, we listened to clueless pundits on television trying but failing to claim that the president had failed. The so-called experts in the foreign policy establishment, whose record is nothing but endless wars, trillions of wasted taxpayer dollars, and dead Americans, have the nerve to try and lecture President Trump, who has solved 7 global conflicts in 7 months, about peace. This is the same president, by the way, who brokered the Abraham Accords in his first term, on top of more than half a dozen other peace deals this year alone, as I just said. We also saw yesterday the president of Ukraine and all of the other major leaders of Europe fly across the Atlantic Ocean to meet President Trump at the White House because of the progress that was made, and that, if you ask the media, failed meeting, but it was not. It was highly productive and it was successful. This is why Americans' trust in the mass media is at a lowest point in more than 5 decades. Diplomacy is a delicate process, and instead of reporting the facts about what is happening here at this White House and what is happening between this president and other leaders around the world, many outlets in this room continue to try to actively undermine the president and sabotage the efforts towards peace.
Interesting.
Hat later on. Okay, who the fuck is this guy? Okay, let's see who arrives now. This guy, they say he's the president of Finland, looking like the captain of a cruise ship. We need to get him a captain's hat later on. Okay, who the fuck is this guy? These Europeans all look like accountants. Yes.
That's funny.
See here, and this is the case that happened in Colorado. We just found out today, as they're always proven wrong, right? There's always, it's not a problem. It's not a big deal. Nothing to see here. And this is the case that happened in Colorado. We just found out today that there were almost 30 people charged with being leaders of Tren de Aragua, that Venezuelan gang. This is all after Colorado officials were saying nothing to see here, nothing was going on with these apartment complexes when we had video. We had evidence to prove that there was a problem. I mean, this is no, small thing. These charges include firearms trafficking, using guns in drug crimes, illegal possession of firearms. 5 of these defendants also face conspiracy to commit murder for hire. Gianna.
100%. And the problem for many of these particular jurisdictions is they're disenfranchising their very own citizens, the people that are either here, born here, or those who went through the process, waited in line, they paid their money, and they're legal immigrants. Those are real big considerations for folks who came here for the American dream and an opportunity to gain it. They're having to deal with violent criminals that cities are saying, no, you're fine to stay here. That's absolutely wrong. And every American should be applauding the Trump administration on its efforts to change the tide, which has been certainly a deficit for many Americans across the country.
Wow.
Your investigator, Brian Moss, has been following this developing story.
Yeah, just as city employees are losing their jobs, others are going on a pricey retreat. Brian has learned it involves Denver City Council members. Joins us on set tonight with more of those details.
And Brian, this city council retreat is coming at a bad time for Denver, certainly a bad look.
This is really awkward timing, to say the very least. So much so that city council tried to get its money back for this retreat, but could not. Next Wednesday evening, 10 Denver City Council members will head for this retreat center in Park County for 2 nights and 1 day of team building and professional development. The price tag, over $26,000.
How do we come together as a body?
Denver City Council President Amanda Sandoval said she previously attended an event at the Lone Rock Retreat, which boasts of breathtaking views, oxygen enrichment systems in rooms, a fitness center, and yoga room. Sandoval said she was impressed with its ability to accommodate disabled people. So council signed a $26,000 contract, which amounts to about $2,000 per person, in early May.
You have to do 2 things. You have to both drive increases in your revenue.
2 weeks later, Mayor Mike Johnston announced a massive budget deficit and the need for layoffs.
The truth is, this is hard, and this is going to be hard.
We signed this contract prior to knowing any budget shortfall. We signed this contract prior to knowing any furlough days. We signed this contract before knowing layoffs.
Sandoval said given the layoffs and furloughs and deficits, council tried to get a refund but could not. So they will head up to Bailey next Wednesday and return to Denver Friday morning, a city furlough day.
So just because we're having a time of crisis doesn't mean that city council shouldn't learn how to work better together. It really doesn't.
Couldn't you have found a less expensive place and way to do this?
I've done research on places to do facilities, and there's not a lot of options, and we do not have facilities like that in Denver.
Now, the money for this retreat will be coming from the city council's budget, which is derived from taxpayer dollars. The 3 council members who are not going have scheduling conflicts. But yeah, just really awkward timing that they're going up there in about a week, spending all that money when the city's trying to make such huge cuts and laying people off.
Yeah, kind of tough to wrap your head around, Brian. Yeah, thank you.
And you can hear more on these planned layoffs from your reporter, Sarah Herbakowitz, tonight at 10. We're going to continue to follow this story as it develops.
The most
throughout the week.
ridiculous things I've ever
Watch how better.
That is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen in my life. You can't be serious. You cannot be serious. Wow. All right, you all. All right, I'm going to have to get off here right now, but oh my goodness. All right, we got this. Bye, you guys.